there. That's going to go like that. I'm going to get my ready to go there. And then we talked to the sleepy little monkey dog. Oh, had a big day. Had to go drive around. Oh, man. Okay. I'm going to click the button. You guys are getting an intro. And boom. Woohoo. All right, everybody. It's Houston After Dark. It's late. I've got 75 of you guys in here on a time of the night that's just awful for you on the East Coast. Half the world's asleep. Maybe it's just West Coasters and Australians or something in here right now. But welcome, everybody, to Houston. Houston, we have a problem. I titled this one "World at War" because, well, that's where we are. What is happening in the Ukraine, I think, is a catalyst for a lot of future carnage, and I don't want to mince words. Like, Putin's threatening Finland and Sweden if they join NATO finally, which, I mean, what's going to stop them from joining NATO at this point? That is, you know, once you step over that line and you attack a NATO country, the prime directive of NATO is that everyone's in. And it is allyship monster ball, just like World War One. It was all allies and allegiances, and it's just a mess. It's bad. It's bad, folks. The United States needs to do more, a lot more. We need to include Russian oil and gas into sanctions. We need to remove Russia from SWIFT, from the bank SWIFT system that runs the banks. We need to push for seizing every asset that's tied to the Kremlin around the globe. I'm talking crypto, investments in Facebook, Twitter, other tech stocks, hedge fund investments, resources like Uranium One, large properties, penthouses in Miami, mansions in upstate New York, penthouses in New York, homes in Belgravia and London, assets in shell companies in Panama, Cyprus, Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Malta, Switzerland, Germany. They're going to go further, and as long as they've got access to cash, they'll keep going. Right now, they've got $600 billion or more tied up in foreign reserves, meaning they took the Russian rubles and they put it into a bunch of euros, into gold, into other assets, because they know that sanctions were coming, and they're going to do what they can to keep funding that war machine. And Putin's goal is to get the band back together. He wants the USSR back together, and that means steamrolling pretty much every former satellite state that has joined NATO, thinks about joining NATO, doesn't have one of his puppets in power, and that's his goal. And I don't know if you saw him on TV recently, but he looks different. He looks older for the first time. He put on a little weight. I don't know. Maybe he's like, maybe rumors he got COVID back in September and squirreled away for a while. But maybe he's like, I'm on my deathbed. Let's just do this. And he's going to see his final vision of reuniting the USSR. I don't know. It's weird. But the weirdest thing is that we did not sanction their oil and gas. Russia produces about 7.5% of the world's oil and almost all the natural gas used in Western Europe. And we need to quickly develop infrastructure to replace that fuel. And perhaps Germany needs to bring nuclear power plants back online, something, so that there's an answer for that. But as long as oil's shooting to 150 a barrel, that's cash that Russia will get for all of that. Yeah, exactly. Got that dope. Seize assets and give them to Ukraine. Exactly. I mean, U.S. government has 1,000 fighter jets sitting mothballed in the Mojave. All those F-14s, F-16s, F-4s, A-10s, you name it. Go, give them a spit polish, send them to Poland, to Romania, to Moldova and let a bunch of Ukrainian airline pilots who currently can't fly right now, give them access to some high-tech weaponry. Putin will keep pushing, and the Russian people don't want this. The Ukrainian people don't want. The rest of the world doesn't want this. China won't even be like, "You got it, man." Kazakhstan refused to join. These are a lot of people that should have been allies, and they are sick of it. And I don't think the world will be a better place until Putin's in a bunker, and with the world closing in. That's probably it. But man, just going through the news, going through the gnarliness, the Ukrainian people are absolute badasses, and they'll fight to the last man if they have to. And that's really sad that that's what it comes down to. And this is the first real conflict that we've seen since World War II that has the potential to spill out and become a global conflict. And it's not one of those things. Let them have Ukraine. Too late. That's the Chamberlain response of, oh, it took Czech Republic, whatever. We'll let them have Czech Republic, and then they steamroll Poland. We don't do that. We learned our lesson the first time, and you have to just be like, well, it's gnarly. I fucking hate it. I do. I hate it. I don't like war. I don't like the fact that we have to do this stuff. But you have a megalomaniac sociopath who has these delusions of bringing back the might of the USSR, and he sees that the fact that the Minsk Accords gave all these former republics of the USSR autonomy and sovereignty, it eats away at his insides. It's awful. It's so awful. But anyway, the markets, we're going to talk about markets. The markets, what the fuck is wrong with America? We're on the precipice of World War III. Let's have the Dow go up 800 points today. Woohoo! Why? We're looking at raising interest rates. We're looking at supply chain issues. We're looking at natural resources being bottlenecked. We're looking at, entire systems like the Straits of Bosphorus being closed down, wheat production basically evaporating for a large portion of the world. Why green? Yeah. Cash App had a really great earnings today. What? The outlook is very bleak at the moment. I am not like, oh yeah, the future's great. Let's just, pump the SPY some more. It just means it's going to crash even harder, man, when it comes down. There's zero reason that the SPY should have been as green as it was. Thursday opened really down and then just climbed right back up. Today, just rocket ship. It's weird. It's a very weird, very odd. I can't explain it other than manipulation. And any expert who popped on to Marketplace on NPR or any article you saw, they're like, can't explain it. Makes no sense to us why anything was green. Absolutely bonkers. I don't get it. Makes no sense. Okay, that's my spiel at the top of the show here. We'll go to your questions. Billy Illy. Good morning. What do you think about Washington's new tax on long-term care? If you live there 20 years, then move, you get nothing out of it. 12 more states are doing the same thing. Happy butt day. That was new. That thing was voted on by or approved by voters. Was it last year? Year before? 2020 election, I think. Basically, there's a huge problem in that insurance isn't covering long-term care for aging or disabled people, and so the state had to come up with funding from somewhere. So they imposed a new tax. I think it's through property taxes. I don't know too much the details of it. Just that we needed a way to fund an aging population full of boomers that are needing more and more long-term care. I have no problem with paying a tax to do that. I don't know the specifics of if you leave or whatever, but every state or the entire nation should have a system that allows people to, live with a home and care when they get old. I think that should be one of the striving goals of a society, is how you take care of the elderly and infirm. You give them a comfortable life. They've worked hard. They've spent their entire lives, and then they get sick when they're old and they blow through their savings and insurance doesn't cover anything, and all of a sudden they lose their homes, or they have predatory powers of attorney folks that prey on them and then bleed them dry of everything. The elderly get screwed over a lot in our society and forgotten and left by the wayside. And, if it wasn't for Social Security, they'd be eating cat food in a cardboard box, many of them. So, we do need something. And while it might not be perfect, I agree with a long-term care facility tax. I'm sure there's better systems that are like a 401k can follow you around from state to state or something. But in general, I think we need something like that. Peachy Sunday. Hello, Hugh Stonk. We've missed you today. Is it possible that governments stop trading or even confiscate shares on the pretense of war? Stop trading, yes. Confiscate shares, no. Unless it's from accounts associated with the Kremlin and oligarchs associated with the Kremlin. There is a lot of trading that happens from accounts in Panama and in the Cayman Islands and hedge funds here in the U.S. that is fully funded by offshored cash from Russia. Seize their yachts, take that cash, nationalize it, nationalize Uranium One in Wyoming. Just take it. They should not have access to these things, and take it, give it to the Ukrainians. I don't care. Take it and use it to pay for improving schools and infrastructure in Panama. Do whatever you want with it. It should not belong to these oligarchs. They stole it in the first place. Just take it from them. Steal it right back. Why not? Sell it through U.S. Marshals auctions. Whatever. Put a government worker as CEO at Uranium One, and then they can work out the details and sell it later, like they did with rescuing Chrysler and GM. We should not, and with the way this global system works, everyone's got fingers in all these pies all over the place, and we've got a system in the United States where Delaware corporations, trusts out of South Dakota hide a lot of these folks, and I don't think we should allow that. The UK is trying to stop folks from. There's 80,000 internationally owned properties, I think in just London proper, that are owned by shell corporations, and the government's not allowed to find out who those shell corporations are. And so we're talking like trillions of dollars and sunk into those luxury properties from offshored wealth, from warlords in Africa, oligarchs, Chinese billionaires, whatever. There's a lot of hidden wealth in those properties, and then there's these weird privacy laws that says if you buy it through a foreign shell corporation, they don't get to know who's behind it. And so it's going to make it hard for them to seize a lot of these properties until they change that law to open up the book and be like, oh, this, Acme Shell Corporation is owned by Dmitry Firtash or whatever. We can just seize it. Bonk. Anyway, I got off long ways from your question there, PG Sunday. But if they do confiscate anything, I think it's going to be related to offshore Russian wealth. I don't think they'll seize our shares. No, that'd be stupid. That would just make it so that no one would ever invest in the market again. And if they don't get retail investors, they have no one to make cash off of. So, yeah. Matt Arnold, we got a super chat in there. I totally missed it. Matt Arnold, I'm broke as hell, but you're one. But of everyone on YouTube, you're the most integrity. You are worth every penny, bro. Well, thank you, Matt Arnold. That's very kind of you to say. I don't know if I'm worth every penny. Bill Coyne, the internet, worldwide communication by regular people may blow up in Putin's face. This isn't World War II. The world's different. Yeah. And one thing Putin does not have control of, and he's been trying to get control of for years, is Telegram. And so, because he's shut down Facebook, he shut down Twitter inside Russia, except for probably Russian troll farms. and he's made it so he doesn't want the Russian people at all to see the carnage that happens with Russian soldiers who are sent to the front lines. And the Russian soldiers that are being sent in are not career soldiers. They're conscriptions. They're young. A lot of them were lied to and told they're going to be going to do training and maneuvers, and then were sent in to go across the border. They're undisciplined. They're not professional soldiers. And, Putin has, and I'm not making this up, he has crematorium trucks that follow behind the troops. So if soldiers die, there's people whose job it is to take those soldiers and just burn any remains so that pictures can't be shown back home of dead Russian soldiers. And so Ukrainian activists are trying to document as many dead Russian soldiers as they can and to get them into Telegram channels so that the Russians at home can see and have the visceral experience of knowing that these are their young, their youth that are being sent into a meat grinder. And I think strategically, I was talking about this with my roommate a little bit ago. I think strategically, what Putin is doing is he is sending in essentially the pawns. He's just dumping the pawns with older equipment to go in and just use up all the Ukrainians' bullets, and so that the Ukrainians are going to run out of ammunition, taking on hundreds of thousands, wave after wave of untrained soldiers. And once they're out of bullets, then they're going to send in the real teams to overthrow the government. And the professional soldiers, the special forces, those guys. It's gnarly. The conflict's gonna get bigger. It's gonna spread. It's gonna be worse, and it's. I don't like war in general. I don't like the false pretext for war. The Iraq War was fucking garbage. The United States government lied their face off to get the pretext to go to war there, and Putin is doing that now with Ukraine, except he has eyes on a whole bunch of other Eastern Bloc states, former Warsaw Pact states, and he wants them all. He wants Estonia, he wants Latvia, he wants Lithuania, he wants Poland, he wants them all. And he's going to try and do it because he's 70 years old. He's on the twilight of his life. He's got to get it done sometime, and that's what he's shooting for. Okay, I know it's a grim show today. I'm sorry, guys, but we're in a grim place. Okay. Chris R., more interesting 2 days in the market. Deep red, then green somehow. Kind of, I thought the fact that war breaking out between Russia and Ukraine would mean more red for later in the week. But the deep red that I said was going to happen Tuesday and Wednesday, I was like, yeah, it's going to be red Tuesday and Wednesday for sure, but maybe they'll do some sort of bounce back at the end of the week. I didn't think that was going to happen because of the invasion, and then it happened anyway. Like it tried Thursday night, Wednesday night. Wednesday night was just and opened up way down, and then just climbed right back out of that hole, as if nothing's going wrong. The world is fine. Feels fucking weird. Got a global pandemic and World War III on the horizon, rising sea levels, and I'm grim. I'm grim tonight, folks. Okay. Chris R. So Girk says Girk was banned from Superstock. Are their mods compromised again? Man, that's lame. I don't know. Is everyone banned? I don't really participate much on Reddit unless someone like tags me and asks me a question. Before I had this whole YouTube thing to get my info, I'd have to like doom scroll Reddit, and then I became the niche micro internet celebrity that I am today, and people just send me information, so I don't have to scroll Reddit anymore and find it. People are like, have you read this yet? I'm like, no, thank you for sending it to me. That's so much easier than having to go find it myself. I thank you everybody who just sends me stuff. It's fantastic. It saves me so much time, and I get so much more effective reading done that way. Hoshi Gaming, Houston, if you want to watch If you want to escape reality a while, watch Arcane on Netflix or Attack on Titan. Such good writing and world building. Isn't Attack on Titan like a movie? Or did they make a show about it? Oh, I never heard of Arcane. But, alright. I'm all about getting escapes in every once in a while. I have been like stuck watching, BBC News. I'm like, oh shit, all night long. I probably should get my mind out of that a bit. BW brand, that shirt is loud. I thought the shirt was rather tame, but it is a very bright, well, it's much brighter orange on camera. It's more of a bronze color here. I gotta do like color correction on my live feed here. But it's a good shirt though. This is one of the tighter shirts for Jimmy D and the ladies, I think. Chakuseki, do you think the Monday SEC rule change will help? I can't read. Do you think the Monday SEC rule change will aid us in any possible way? Any rule change that limits the ability to hide FTDs, to short naked, to mask margin, things like that are good. There's a whole slew that got presented and were published yesterday that I think are being fast tracked right now. I think they're being fast tracked ahead of raising interest rates because they know that raising interest rates is going to push the market into a bear market and drop assets under management big time, and force investors to find other ways to store their money. So they'll be looking at gold and treasury bonds and stuff like that. So maybe they're trying to, build a little wall around that further drop. And because, if the drop in assets under management causes more margin calls, we're seeing margin calls. UBS was doing margin calls on hedge funds that had a bunch of Russian bonds because Russian bonds just got pushed to zero yesterday. So, if your assets under management included Russian bonds, well, you don't have assets under management. They're gone. So they're having to do margin calls on them. So yeah, that's probably something they're looking at. Is it 10 that they want to push through? 2021 10. That was the one that if I remember correctly, it's the one that rather than liquidating would give the hedge funds a loan and then take their assets as collateral on that loan, and then the hedge funds use it to pay off. It's just a dark pool way of transferring those assets because whoever takes those assets as collateral are going to have to sell them off anyway, because once the hedge fund pays down, that 1/30th of their margin, and they still have the 29/30ths left, they aren't going to be able to pay back that loan. They're toast. They're done. So whoever takes those assets are just going to sell them. That's the big one, isn't it? Okay. Whoper. Damn it. Need to be up at work 6 a.m. Sorry, man. That's in like a few hours. Matt Johnson, so it's come to this: a glass of whiskey, a bowl of cottage cheese, and Houston with a problem. It's like what the sophisticated adult drinks and what you give to your toddler. Just Da H in New Zealand's here, Oregon, Ontario. Whoa, got some. Oh, we have a couple East Coasters, late nighters, doing their late night thing here. Yeah. Australia, Minnesota. Everybody's jumping in here. Southwest Sydney. Goodness gracious. Not my name, Minnesota here, and always watching. Houston, is AMC earnings going to be a big nothing burger, or is market craziness going to make things unpredictable? Positive 800 Dow has me lost. Thoughts? Yeah, the 800 Dow today. Makes no sense to me. There are a couple of companies that had big earnings. Cube or whatever that does Square and Cash App. They were like 26% above, up 26% because they had fantastic earnings. There's another one today. My brain is... It's like late in the day, and I've already jettisoned half that information. There are a couple of them that had great earnings today. I bet AMC is going to have a fantastic Q4 report on Monday. It's probably going to be just cherry. What and you know, people go bonkers about it, but whenever GameStop or AMC or any of these meme companies, where they post bad earnings, everyone's like, oh, sell everything. Oh, bro, that shouldn't be invested. They post great earnings, they go, oh, so sell everything. It's just a fluke. And they just push it down because that's their goal. So my guess is if they've got great earnings, they're going to try and short like crazy with whatever margin they develop today. I bet a lot of these hedge funds are like, we got to pump the SPY to drain money out of everyone that got puts. And we're going to use that cash for margin to short the hell out of AMC on Monday. And after hours on Monday, too. Mo asked for yo ass. Houston, I know you don't like Lou, but you keep saying AMC won't go as high as we think, and basically to sell early or else we become bag holders. It's not that I don't like Lou, it's just that I don't agree with anything he says. I mean, if you sell early, you paper hand it, then you can do that. But I do think that there are billions of synthetics, and that it's more than what the float is. And there's weird numbers coming out. Like last year, 300% of the float was owned by institutions for GameStop. Now all of a sudden, retail owns 85% of AMC, but banks own 50% of AMC. How does that work? Like there are weird signs that synthetics are out there. That being said, the float of AMC in the last year, just from sales of insiders, has increased 10%. There's those issues, but it's still a squeeze play. It's still going to go ridiculously high, especially if folks just hold on to it. The price goes higher the more you hold. That's buy and hold strategy. If you don't sell, and everyone else doesn't sell, and they're forced to buy, where are they going to get their shares from? You eventually, when you go, fine, I'll sell one for $10,000 or whatever. That's kind of the realm that we're in, and Lou may not believe in that, but I think it's still a possibility. Email address: Houston, can you explain what are the forces that cause activity in the New Madrid seismic zone? Is it a spreading ridge? I think it's similar to a spreading ridge, or at least the remnants of an old spreading ridge. We talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago, last week. Everything bleeds together now. The world, time has no meaning. New Madrid Fault is in southern Missouri, near the Mississippi River, like this area. I think, if I remember correctly, it is. You can look here. See this guy? I think it is an old spreading ridge that still is faulted. So when North America gets compressed or moved, it allows for a lot of movement and stress release, because North America is, it's being pushed west about 3 inches a year by, it sits on this big North American plate from the spreading ridge, this big conveyor belt of material. And then it's meeting the Pacific Ocean and grinding against the Pacific Ocean, making mountain ranges and all sorts of things, which can put stresses all over the continent. South Carolina, there was a giant earthquake in the 1800s. What was the big earthquake in South Carolina? It was like an 8.0 in 1800s, 1820, Charleston earthquake. It was 1886. Yeah. So it was a big one. 2,000 buildings damaged, 60 people died. Estimated about 7.3 on the Richter scale, which, for a place that is nothing is engineered, especially in the 1800s, to handle an earthquake like that, that's a big earthquake to take. And all this stuff is really gelatinous, because this is all fill, basically. So the ancient giant Himalaya-sized mountains that makes up the Appalachians and the Atlas Mountains in Africa, those mountain ranges, when everything was smacked together on the supercontinent, were giant, huge mountains. And then in the ensuing 250 million years since they spread apart, there's been tons of erosion. And so the entire continental shelf, like all of this continental shelf, is former giant tall mountain. And so these mountains now are 6,000 feet tall when they used to be 30,000 feet tall. And all that height of those mountains came down the rivers and streams and filled out basically the flat shelf that goes along the eastern seaboard. You'll notice it's not very hilly when you get out to the shelf here. And that's all loose soil, sand, mud, clay. And when the earth jiggles, that stuff keeps jiggling like jello. So it's really bad earthquakes if you do get one out here, which are very rare. But, the earth still moves. It still does stuff. Stuff settles. Mountains rebound. All sorts of things happen. But yeah, New Madrid Fault, likely an ancient spreading ridge. And there's lots of, because the rivers in here, there's lots of groundwater that can cause weird pressures and lubricate things. And yeah, but I'm really wondering what kind of faults we're going to get in places like Ohio, Kentucky, and Oklahoma as a result of all this fracking. Because these were traditionally really quiet geologic areas, and now they have like more earthquakes than anybody from all that fracking. And are they making mountains? What's happening there? Mo asks for us, Houston, what's a weird food combination you love? Oh, fucking. In my brain, I'd already turned it off. I was like, I did it already. Fucking. Houston, what's a weird food combination that you love? Man. The weird one I like, and I don't know if this weirds anybody out, but when I was a child, I discovered if I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, that dipping the peanut butter and jelly sandwich in milk was delicious. So I would do that, and my friends would be like, what are you doing? I was like, eating a delicious sandwich dipped in milk. It's awesome this way. Yeah. So, yeah, are there any others? Any other weird ones I like? I like to make fancy ramen noodles. Like throw in smoked salmon or boil an egg with the ramen noodles. Or, I don't know, I'll like get chicken tenders and cook them with in there. I like to make little fancy ramens. That's not really weird. People do that at actual ramen restaurants, but most people at home, they just like throw the packet in the water and then eat that and whatever. But I branched out. I made it. I needed a little more spice to my life with that. What other weird combinations? Salad dressing and hard-boiled eggs. That's delicious. Like Italian dressing on a hard-boiled egg is one of the greatest combinations I've ever had in my brain. It's delicious. But I don't know if I like weird ones. You ever had a fat fried Elvis? The sandwiches. Elvis would eat 10 of them a day at 10,000 calories each, and then died on the toilet with like one in his lap. He'd get them airlifted from some restaurant in Seattle. I don't know the name of the restaurant, and it was a pork belly sandwich, the deep fried. It had peanut butter, bananas, and potato chips. I think were like the main ingredients. And man, I had one. Holy shit! I totally get why he ate 10 of those a day, gained 150 pounds, and died in the toilet. It makes sense to me. It was delicious. I don't know if I could actually physically consume 100,000 calories a day, but that's where he was. He'd have 10 of them every single day, put on a jet that went from Seattle to Memphis and delivered to him, and he would eat 10 of them. 10,000 calories each every single day until he died. But it's a weird combination, and holy smokes, is it delicious. Like, goodness gracious. People want me to pet the dog. Oh, monkey butt. They want me to pet you. Yeah. Here's your book. She's like, there's the side eye right there. Like, oh, just leave me alone. She likes her napping. She doesn't like her. Don't touch me. Just let me sleep. Okay. Canadian here, your shirt woke me up. Well, there you go, Bex. I like to assault the eye, especially at night. Okay. Jorge Hernandez, oil and gas, it's just impossible. Most of all European countries depend on them. It's true. We need to quickly set up infrastructure or tanker rescue or something to just send liquefied natural gas, whatever. Norway can probably, kick in. North Sea oil coming out of Scotland. There's a lot that needs to be done. It can be done, and I think we're going to be seeing expensive prices no matter what. But if it's expensive prices because we cut off Russia from the market, I'm okay with that. If it's expensive prices because there's just a war going on and Russia gets that money, I am not okay with that. So if oil prices are going to go up, they may as well go up because we put sanctions on Russia. Because they're going to go up either way. We're looking at $150, $200 a barrel oil regardless. So we may as well just put sanctions on Russia and just cut them off. Cut their freaking internet cables. Go out there with a saw and cut off the telecommunications and just cut them off from the world. And they're Russian hackers are stealing all your crypto, and that crypto is going to fund wars. That's, your grandma gets a ransomware attack, that Bitcoin she's forced to buy to unlock her grandkids' photographs, that is going to the Russian mafia. The thefts of NFTs, your little monkey pictures, that is going to Russian mafia. The phishing scams, that is all Russian mafia. They're stealing your shit, man, and they're using it to pay for wars. Well, that's for your ass because you forgot to turn off the intro, and I always crack up when it happens. Thank you. I was hoping to make it all week and not do that. I'll have a week. One of these weeks, I'm going to get through it. Okay. Just methods. With the uncertainty around pretty much the entire world, do you think MOAS will hit when it's least expected? Yeah. I mean, at this point, someone somewhere is like, MOAS is tomorrow. And everyone's like, oh boy, and it doesn't happen. And then someone else is like, nope, it's tomorrow. And they're like, oh yeah. And then the next day, oh, it's tomorrow. So somebody is going to get it right. And that person will be on like CNBC all week talking about it. It's like a giant roulette wheel, if every spot on the table is covered with chips, someone's going to win. Only this time you have like 1,000 days and someone with their chip on there. That's what we should do. We should do a pool. Everyone puts in like $5. All 18,200 subscribers. Everyone puts in $5, and they all pick a day. That's going to be the MOAS day, and whoever wins gets the pool. How about that? Does that sound good? Sounds good to me. Just, gotta pick a day. It's going to be one of those days, not a holiday, not on the weekend. It's going to be one of those days where the MOAS begins and someone's going to get that thing right. Drusel, Elon now chiming in on Dave Lauer comments. The SEC should investigate put options in naked shorts. He provides needed pressure and visibility. This is true. Elon should, Elon talking about it is great because he's got a cult of personality and people pay attention when he says stuff. Elon also is probably in deep shit for manipulating his stocks and for selling. He and his brother are selling ahead of giant recalls of their vehicles. Elon might be in trouble with the SEC as a result of that. He's done plenty of manipulation of his own on his own side. He's just not doing it through shorting. He's doing it through pump Doge, and then he'll shit on Bitcoin, and then he'll pump Bitcoin, and he's been made billions of dollars that way. So he may be facing his own troubles, but he is right. The SEC should definitely investigate naked shorts all the way. Elon should also put his money where his mouth is and drop $30 billion into meme stocks. If he really thinks that they are illegally using put options and naked shorts to ruin everything, then he should drop 10, 15 billion on GameStop and 10 billion on AMC and 5 billion on Bed Bath & Beyond, whatever. Just, I mean, he's got money to spare. He'll make a fortune out of it. Like, you know, he wants to 10 or 100x that money. That's how you do it. And, you know, it would be legendary. But I don't know if he would, or he will. But he should. He definitely should. If I were worth $300 billion and, you know, I had the choice of becoming a Bond villain or a legend, I'd go with legend. Why not? Okay. Sorry, I lost my spot. Where am I? Fly high. Putin is so rich and can't be happy without this destruction. Yep. I mean, if 2014 Putin was estimated to be worth $200 billion, his net worth with all of the hidden accounts and, you know, people that he masks his wealth through, he's probably worth $1 trillion by now. I wouldn't doubt. Like, why? I don't understand why you can't just have $200 billion and just chill the fuck out. You know? Enjoy your Nautilus-styled submarine. Enjoy your private island. Enjoy, you know, the life of leisure and supermodels and everything else. Why you gotta blow shit up and kill people just because, you know, 31 years ago your nation collapsed and broke into other nations? Because, quite frankly, in the 1920s and 30s, Stalin saying he wanted to change the map and invaded everybody and made them part of his big empire. You know, the USSR existed for what? 70 years? You did it for 70 years. Cool. It's over now. The USSR doesn't exist anymore. And I know people are nostalgic and they look back to their childhood and things are sometimes much happier and better than they were. But, you know, people do all the time in the U.S. They're like, I want to go back to the 1950s. I'm sure you do, middle-class white guy. But for the 1950s, for a lot of people, sucked ass. You know, everyone's dad had PTSD. Moms were on pep pills. Sexual exploitation of children through churches and orphanages and native schools were just heinous, and, you know, segregation and Jim Crow and racism and apartheid. And, you know, for a lot of people, it wasn't great. But when you were 8 years old in your lily white neighborhood, you had a great time riding your bike with your best friend Billy. I get it. But a lot of people did not have a great time. That nostalgia is kind of toxic sometimes. And we have to, you know, we have to look forward to make things better, not look backwards to our selective memory. We have definitely improved on a lot of fronts. And yeah, that scares a lot of people because they fear change. But just imagine, you know, when someone says, I want to go back to the sensibilities of the 1950s, and you're saying that to somebody whose parents were essentially like indentured servants on a plantation, and, you know, they were forced to go to an underfunded, broken down, segregated school, had no hope of, you know, college education or getting themselves out of the economic quagmire that they were forced into. It doesn't really ring the true to a large portion of the population. What we should do instead is, rather than harken back to some sort of gilded age that never existed, we need to look forward and change the things we can change and make life better now for the people that exist now. Healthcare. Get people healthcare. Get people homes who need homes. Make sure, you know, people can get working wages, living wages for the work that they do, regardless of their skill level, regardless of their class or place in society. People should be able to afford to live. Otherwise, why have a society? Why do we exist as a society with rules and norms if we don't take care of the people in the society? Man, it's just rah, 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 rah. That's all I have to say. Okay. Bill Coyne, here's the problem. If we don't hit back hard, the message is you can do whatever you want. That's true. And that's where Neville Chamberlain went totally wrong. You cannot capitulate to a madman. You just can't do it. Because a madman will take as much as they can until they're stopped. If you never do anything to stop them, they don't go, oh shit, I don't do that. I mean, right now, Vladimir Putin is claiming he's invading Ukraine to stop a Nazi regime. Zelensky lost family in the Holocaust because he's Jewish. The president of Ukraine is Jewish and not a Nazi. But because there's one militia, the Azov battalion, that is associated with Nazism, that was doing battle against a bunch of other Nazis that were in the rebel militias on the Russian side in Donbass and elsewhere. You know, there's two Nazi groups, two white supremacist groups that are doing battle with each other. That does not represent the whole of Ukraine, especially when the president's a Jew. I mean, we have more Nazis in our armed forces in the United States than they do in Ukraine. Putin funds Nazi elements all over the world, and in 2015 had held and hosted a freaking Nazi conference in Moscow. Like, that was funded by the Kremlin. They wanted these alt-right groups all over. Marine Le Pen and the what-bajigger dude in Austria, and you know the five-star guys from Italy. Like, those are all funded by the Kremlin. And it's, you know, it's fucking bullshit. Putin's little excuses. That's, screw you, Putin. You know, a few world leaders that exist right now piss me off more than that guy. And he's just a freaking monster. And he gets to live this plush, lovely life while, you know, sucking the life force out of his people and taking all their wealth and sticking it in Panama and the Cayman Islands and everywhere else. And, you know, granted, there's a bunch of rich people here in the United States that kind of do the same thing, but they're not dictators for life. You know, just at least, you know, we can have some semblance that maybe perhaps the FBI, DOJ can throw him in jail once someday. Okay. Dzenet Donko. It's ironic how Houston is super anti-Nazi, yet it seems like he supports NATO, which is a neo-Nazi organization. Shake man, fuck you, dude. Eat a big old bag of dicks. The only thing keeping Lithuania, Poland, Estonia, and Latvia from being part of Putin's realm right now is NATO. That's it. It is not a Nazi organization. It's a group that was originally formed to keep the USSR from taking over other countries. But afterwards, when those countries finally got free in 91 with the fall of communism, they were invited to join, to leave the Warsaw Pact countries so they could have some sort of allegiance. And those folks did not want to live under that authoritarian state anymore. It's not a freaking Nazi organization. It's not. It's an organization of a bunch of democracies. And yeah, some of those democracies aren't perfect. Some of them are even led by Putin-backed autocrats, like in Hungary. You know, Orban in Hungary is a piece of shit. He's an asshole just as much as Putin is. He's racist. He's homophobic. He's anti-Semitic. He's definitely tied to Nazism. He's a fucking piece of shit. But we would like to see him out. And if once Putin goes, I bet Orban goes. I bet the right wing elements in Poland vanish as well without the funding and support. So, you know, Donko, you can go fuck yourself. You can just eat shit and die. I don't care. Go away. Yeah. Purportedly stupid. Houston, all the things to talk about, they require a spine. Commodity sorely lacking in politicians. Politicians will check the wind, and, you know, very few of them will come in with like actual convictions. It's just, hey, sometimes you just gotta do the right thing, man. You just You just got to do the right thing. And sometimes the right thing is hard and it sucks, and it means defending people, and it means, costing lives and money and time and comfort. And that's just life. We get so comfortable. I am comfortable. I'm totally comfortable right now. My dog's nice and warm. I'm well lit. I'm fed. I've got water and electricity. I've got the internet. I've got, 360 people watching from around the world right now. And I can totally sit and just play video games and ignore everything and do what these billionaires should do, which is just tune out and just enjoy life. But there's so many more people who have it so much worse, and we're in a position of privilege and somewhat have, I don't want to say authority, but we have the ability and if we have the convictions to make life better for others, and that's what we should hope to do. And any small part, any way, whether it's giving information or standing up to a bully or whatever, like those are the little things in life that everyone can do. We can't change everything, but we can change some small things, and we should definitely, try to change those small things at least. Michael Steegs! Or is it Mitchell? Is it Michael? Michael. I might be saying it wrong. I'm sorry if you guys correct me if I'm saying it wrong. With AMC and GME, I think a volume of 1 billion shares is safe before selling. What about metamaterials? I wouldn't doubt if Torchlight was shorted, somewhat to the effect of 1 billion shares. But that means there might be 1 billion synthetic MMTLP shares, but not 1 billion synthetic shares overall, because there was a 7-to-1 reverse split. I think it was 7-to-1. So 7 of those shorted Torchlight shares would become 1 metamaterial share. So it might be hundreds of millions at that point. But metamaterial itself is also heavily shorted. Shorted to, Ortex has it at 20-something percent, 25%, 27%, somewhere in there, at least in the last week when I checked. So add a 0 to that, and that's probably the accurate short count. And what's counted as the float is totally wrong. They count Innova Corp and I can't remember the name of the other venture capital fund as not insiders, as like just institutional investment, but they're insiders. They've got people on the board. So yeah, I think metamaterials might be in that range. I do think GME is probably higher. AMC is probably 3 or 4 times higher than that, than 1 billion. But if you see the volume approaching 1 billion, maybe, people might get some itchy trigger fingers at that point. It's kind of that whole, like, don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes type situation. You're sitting there and you're like, oh, I got one musket ball in here and I got to make it count. Purportedly stupid. Sitting arse, playing video games, and numbing yourself to the world while ignoring responsibilities. That's my bag. Get your own shtick. All right, I'll let you take that role. I'll just be neurotic, doom scrolling the internet, going while it's happening. Okay. Drew says, I feel like MOAS is going to happen from the most random thing ever. Not even hedge fund or GME catalyst related. Like, who a year ago would have thought war could be a potential catalyst for MOAS? Yeah. But hedge funds exist because the idea is that they hedge their bets, right? They're like, I'm going to make a bet on this, but if that goes wrong, I've got this hedge over here. So, you buy puts and calls on something. You're like a company donating money to a politician. Like you can get this guy in office, but if he doesn't get in office, then you have to deal with the guy you didn't give money to. So you just give $50,000 to both. And that way, whoever gets in office has to do whatever you want for them. And hedge funds kind of do the same way. They'll be like, okay, the S&P might collapse or it might go up. So I'm going to buy puts and calls, and that's what they're supposed to do. So if one pays off, it can pay off the losses on the other one, and you made a bunch of money. The most of the time, a lot of these puts and calls, they fall in that max pain zone, so everyone loses. But every once in a while, someone wins big, and when they do, that's where they get their profits from. And they call that trader a genius, and then they make him a VP, and then he, hopefully does it again someday. But yeah, there's gonna be something we didn't see coming. There's gonna be, I was reading about that the insurance companies started securitizing life insurance policies and selling them like they did with mortgages. Now, those life insurance policies, if you get a whole bunch of folks dying from, I don't know, COVID, war, whatever, and those life insurance policies that are counting on folks living until they're 85, but they all start dying at 70, and you have 15 years of not collecting premiums. You got to pay out a lot more all of a sudden. Well, that could be a catalyst. All of a sudden, I could drop the value of those collateralized insurance policies. I'd have thought like it'd be kind of a weird movie. You have like hitmen whose job it is to go knock off folks. Or, you got your reverse mortgages and you want to sell that house. You got to just go kill someone's grandma who got stuck with reverse mortgages because you want to sell it now. Now there's whatever evil thing you could think of, there's probably somebody actually doing it. That's my opinion. Okay. Neil21981. Check out Mullen. True Demon has been talking about their crazy short exempt volume. Why would market makers short the stock? Let's see. Let's look at them. Let's look at them. Got to go there. Got to turn you off. Oh, I forgot to load the Chrome here. Where that one? Okay. That's closed off my thing. I need you up, and I need you up. There we go. Okay. Mullen Automotive, 69 cents. Multi-technology public American electric car company trading on NASDAQ, headquartered in Brea, California. Mullen owns other businesses, including Mullen Auto Sales, casino, chain of car dealerships. Man, I don't know what a Mullen looks like. Do they have cars they sell? I mean, this and Centro would be like the two cheapest electric car companies, if that's the case. Market cap, 24 million. Very small company. It's not a very big market cap at all. Was almost $16 at one point within the last year. Oh, it's taking a big drop. So $13 there. 13. And then just been a crash since November. Huh. Have they had bad news? I don't know. I know nothing. I've never even heard of them. So I can imagine that if you haven't heard of them, they aren't doing much. So I'll look into them further. But that's a very small market cap for an electric car company, which tells me either shenanigans have happened or they're dying, I guess. But all right, I'll check them out more. No Revolution 105. Respect for the Ukraine president. Yeah, Zelensky has had some good quips. I mean, the U.S. government said, "Hey, we can help get you out of there," and he put on bulletproof vest and helmet. Said, "I don't need a ride. I need weapons." And he and the Klitschko brothers, Vitaly Klitschko, former heavyweight champion of the world, like 12-time heavyweight champion of the world, they're gearing up. They're doing what leaders should do, which is fight for their people, and it's inspiring, and it's awful, and that they have to do that. I mean, Alexander the Great, when he was facing mutiny, he ripped off his shirt, and he's like, "Look at these scars. I have a wound from every battle I have fought alongside you. Who among you can make that same claim?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, well, that's pretty badass." It's inspiring to see for leaders to step up like that. I mean, I can't imagine, last days of Red Dawn style invasion of the United States that we'd have too many of our political leaders, our geezer 90-year-old creaky pain in the ass political leaders actually stepping up like that and donning helmets and grabbing AKs and going to take it to the enemy. And Last Stand, I don't picture any of them doing that. It's ballsy and it's inspiring. Chris R, they don't want the VIX to go above 40. Yeah, a bunch of calls for the VIX would go cha-ching for a lot of folks. That's the case. Email address, not everyone is to blame, not both sides. Russia and Putin are to blame, but not the Russian people. Yes, the Russian people are not behind Putin. You can see that in the protests right now. And yeah, it's the people don't support Putin. They haven't supported Putin. Putin has had to manipulate and cajole and assassinate to keep power. Anyone steps up and sees a threat, he sends them off to Siberia or a prison or gives them a polonium soup or something. Drew Soul, FYI, Chinese cargo ship hit with missile off Ukraine. Another ship, was it a Turkish ship? I think a Turkish ship got hit as well the other day, and was listing. Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to start Lusitania-ing ships like that are just commerce ships doing their job. Project Sun, here. My friend's family is holed up in eastern Ukraine border. She says they're shooting randomly at civilians. Saw a video of tank aiming for someone ran over a car. Yeah, there's some gnarly videos and like people probably get trauma just from watching those videos. But this will probably be one of the most documented wars by the public ever. As long as they got satellite connections or cell towers that are working, people are going to be documenting and sending, and it will end up on Telegram and Signal and Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. It's going to be gnarly. So if you have queasy stomachs, hopefully they'll have those little warnings for you. But yeah, be prepared to see a lot of just carnage. Absolute carnage. Lil Beefs says, Biden did mention that stopping Putin now is important, as any success would embolden him. Seems consistent with the world stance. Yeah, you got to do something. And while you can say that stopping him is important, what are you going to do about it? That's the question. How are you going to help folks? What assistance, cash, weapons, money, men, whatever? Like who's going to get that stuff? And how are we going to do it? Are we going to bureaucratize this and just take forever and whiffle and waffle and look at line items and budgets, or are we just going to act and do things? And that's, it might not take long to steamroll the Ukrainian people if Putin keeps throwing more soldiers and weapons at it. Although the Ukrainians are fighting back, man, they are making it brutal, and I bet a lot of soldiers don't want to be there right now from Russia. Okay. Jorge Hernandez, the Fed is manipulating the market to avoid the market crash and to get people from other countries to invest in our market. I wouldn't doubt if it was revealed that a bunch of cash got dumped into the market from the Fed. Yeah. Houston Wade Jr. We need those SEC DOJ investigations to start the long-awaited cleanup retail needs. Short of that, Occupy Wall Street 2.0? Maybe. I mean, if it comes down to it. I personally don't want to hang out with a bunch of hippies, but we may need to. But the Occupy Wall Street people got so easily distracted last time. The ones that were in Seattle, they had been in like the financial district in Seattle, and then it wasn't. And then for some reason, somebody, probably some shill plant, was like, "Let's go to the community college and go camp out there." So they sat in the community college at Seattle Central and made it impossible for like anyone to get to class or people to teach, and they were constantly disrupting the courses. And my brother-in-law was like acting president of Seattle Central Community College at the time, because he was vice president, and the president just sort of was like, peace. So he got stuck. He was like, oh, poor guy. He was on TV constantly, just being like, can you please just go protest in front of the banks or in front of like the trading firms and leave our poor, literally poor, like actual impoverished community college students alone. And this one lady's like, well, your college isn't doing enough to help us. You should have somebody from, maybe a PhD student from your sociology department come out here and be doing. He's like, we don't have PhD. We're a community college. We're a 2-year college. We have a bunch of folks that want to get an AA degree and hopefully go on to like a real school someday and get a bachelor's. We don't have that. We've got one guy who teaches sociology, and he was fired from another job because he's terrible at it. So some of the hippies really just got off track there. Warren, my poor brother. You can probably look for videos of him just being like, oh, just quit pissing and shitting in the yard and just go somewhere else. Go bother the bankers and leave my poor college students alone. Okay. Peachy Sunday, Houston, it seems to me that if they can control the price, then our current price is their health bar, and they're running out of ammo. It used to be $350, $180, now $120. That's a peachy way of looking at it there, Peachy Sunday. The way I see it is every time they got to short us down, that's more liability they've created later. They just dug deeper. It just makes me think of, there's that Simpsons, I can't remember what the episode was about, but they're like in a giant hole and they're trying to get out, and Homer's like, dig up, stupid. And that's where I think they are. They got to dig up, stupid. Oh, I'm an hour behind the chat. I've been pontificating. Sorry there. Yep. Oh, and there goes the reset. So we're going to try and get back up, and okay, I just cut off half an hour of the chat. So that's one way to down to the one where I saw pat the dog. Okay. BW brand hard-boiled eggs are great. Hard-boiled eggs are delicious. All right. Jordan Kimmery, if you don't believe in a god or some designer, how do you rectify any form of life in this vast space? Why would life form, organisms become life, etc.? Keyword life. Well, that is where, I mean, we see evolution. Evolution exists. We've had speciations within our own lifetime, even. So like you can't deny evolution. Evolution it's real. The fact that we've had multiple variants of this virus shows that evolution is real. Bacteria hardening themselves against antibiotics is evolution. There's a flower that came from, I think it's Romania, called the goat's beard flower, ended up in eastern Washington. And in less than 50 years, its genes transformed enough that it speciated and became an endemic type of goat's beard flower here in Washington state, and can no longer mate and procreate with the original goat's beard flower from the seeds from which it was brought here 50, 70 years ago. So there is speciation that happens. We know that. The question is, what was the spark of life? And the hypothesis basically is that if you have amino acids and electricity and carbon and water, that eventually these amino acids will form RNAs, and you will get some sort of slime. Some sort of slime that could be considered a bacteria or an algae or an amoeba. There's something along those lines that will just randomly burst into existence, consume something, shit it out, and procreate. And that's the general hypothesis. Is that a long time ago there were the ingredients necessary to create slime, and slime got created. The Miller-Urey experiment, which has been going on for 70 years now. Let's see here, Miller-Urey. So it is. There, we'll just go onto the video. We want images. There we go. Okay. So what they did was they created an enclosed environment. It had carbon, water, nitrogen, oxygen, electricity, all the things you need that like life is based upon, and they just put those ingredients in there and started zapping with electricity and see what happened. And within days, slime appeared. Now this slime is basically amino acids. Like you could eat it and get energy from it, but it's not a life form yet. It's just random amino acids that have combined via the fact that there's these elements in there. But the experiment's been going on in this closed system since the 1950s. And the idea is that at some point, through random happenstance, that slime is going to have those amino acids perhaps create an RNA strain. And when that happens, you might have life. That's kind of what it comes down to. Or at least a proto-life. And if given, a long time, like the Earth, has existed for 4.5 billion years, but life didn't appear until what, 3 billion years ago? So it took about 1.5 billion years of, slime and electricity and water and everything else before the first, microorganism popped into existence. So it takes some time. So the Miller-Urey experiment may be sitting in that closed system for 1 billion years while we try to figure out if life can ever form. But, then it comes down to the question also, if life can't form without God, who formed God? Everything goes back. It always existed. That's not how time works. Things just appear. That's just, there is stuff that just appears out of nothing. Why? We don't quite understand that. We've got matter and antimatter that appear everywhere around us at all times, combine, vanish from existence, and leave behind a gamma ray photon. It's happening in the room you're in right now. Why? We don't know. It's just the way it is. Throughout the vastness of space, there's stuff that just appears into existence, disappears, and leaves behind a gamma ray photon. And no one knows why. We can recreate it. We can hyper-accelerate particles and create those same type of situations. But why in the vacuum of space or in this room right now would two particles blink into existence out of no reason? I don't know. It's weird. Daphne always adds sliced onion, carrots, and hard-boiled eggs in my favorite creamy chicken-flavored ramen noodles. There you go. Make those ramen noodles exquisite. It might be a 16-cent meal, but you can turn it into a $20 meal in no time. All right. Av Diggity. Houston, is Bitcoin safer than banks in the long run? Ooh. No. Think. If you at least have a system that has insurances for banks, like FDIC or whatever equivalent is for whatever nation you are in, your money's secured. Your money's safe. If the bank goes under, someone else will buy up those assets. You'll just be a member of another bank. Bitcoin is not insured and it's not regulated. So if your Bitcoin vanishes, tough shit. Them's the breaks. If somehow someone gets your passcode or whatever, like your debit card or your credit card, if somebody gets that number and makes a purchase for $300 at a car wash halfway around the world, you call and you say, hey, I didn't make that purchase. And there's an insurance system there to cover it. But if you say, hey, I had 40 Bitcoin in this electronic wallet, it got stolen, tough shit, right? No one else is going to give up their 40 Bitcoin to replace the Bitcoin in your wallet. You're screwed. If you are, the reason why there's a run on all the ATMs in Ukraine right now, because folks need cash if they're going to get into Poland. And if electricity and cell towers and things are going down, your Bitcoin doesn't do you any good in that emergency. If we get hit with an EMP or a solar flare and it knocks the entire system down, okay. What now? If you rely entirely on a digital system and there's vulnerabilities to that digital system, you're screwed. If hackers get to the point where they can have an internet-connected quantum computer, not a single one of your passphrases on any of your crypto wallets is safe. They're done. They'll hack every single one of those suckers in 30 minutes. And they'll have all your digital currency. So there's lots of vulnerabilities to be had. There's a reason why back in the day people buried their cash in mattresses and stuff, because you had it. Someone had to physically come and take it from you, and at least you could put up your dukes rather than shake your head at whatever's happening on the internet. So I don't think Bitcoin is necessarily safer. I think Bitcoin's a great way to move money across borders. If you are a member of the cartel and you can manage to get your piles of cash to Mexico or something from drug deals, and you can get to Mexico and you can probably have HSBC or UBS or one of the other banks that deal with lots of, bad elements. You can get your cash in that bank. Cool. But now how are you going to get that cash from Mexico to Colombia? Bitcoin. You put it on a thumb drive. And then now that guy in Colombia who's in charge of the Medellin cartel or whatever, he can finally get his money. and it's a lot easier to move billions of dollars around in a thumb drive than it is try to do it in truckloads of cash, especially like 1s and 5s and whatever else that drug addicts are going to be paying with. But it's a different system. I don't think it's necessarily safer. I think there's plenty of vulnerabilities, especially if your hardware wallet gets thrown out with your hard drive or whatever. That poor guy in Wales still missing his $1 billion in Bitcoin that's been in the garbage dump for the last 5 years. And there's the guy who he's got the hard drive that's on a password, and he's like used 8 of the 10 possible tries, and if he uses 2 more, it locks forever, and it's got like $1 billion on it. Yeah. I mean, I suppose that your cash could be locked away in a vault, and you lose the code or something. But I don't know. I think a lot of things have their vulnerabilities. David DeMoss, what do you think about Elon Musk getting verbal about the SEC? I mean, I think it's fantastic that Elon's talking about short hedge funds, but he's also complaining the fact that they're investigating him for very legitimate reasons, which is Elon manipulates himself. Elon is a manipulator. He will pump and dump, and he'll pit different things against each other and sell one and buy the other and then reverse it, and he'll make a lot of money that way. And I think if they want to look at him and fine him for manipulation, they can probably strip him of power of his companies, kick him out of, force him to not be a member of the board, things like that. So he's playing with fire, I think. I will use it to my advantage, him bringing attention to short hedge funds, but he's also not been on the up and up. Cameron Mirza, did Russia support the truckers in Canada because Putin used the same words about Nazis? You think he's threatening nuclear war using North Korea? I think Putin is unhinged and he'll do anything. But yeah, a lot of the Facebook sites that were organizing the trucker rallies in Canada were from hacked Facebook accounts, were from sites that are run and operated out of Romania, out of Philippines, out of Russia. Yeah, they definitely have their finger in that. They're using, Google images from 20 years ago of trucks that were like at a funeral or something for one of their friends. It's like, oh, this trucker convoy. No, it's a 20-year-old photo of 20-year-old trucks that aren't on the road anymore. There's a lot of manipulation that he does. The 2018 there was a study done. Published. Here we go. So, Twitter bots and trolls. This is 2018. This is pre-COVID, October 2018. American Journal of Public Health. Weaponized health communications. Twitter bots and Russian trolls amplify a vaccine debate. They do. Why? Because it's asymmetric warfare. If you can get your perceived enemy to not vaccinate against preventable illnesses, you will manage to weaken your perceived enemy, right? If you can get 30% of your population to not vaccinate against mumps and measles and Tdap and a lot of heinous illnesses we've had throughout the history that we almost eliminated, then you just weakened 30% of their population. Woohoo! Way to go. Without having to do anything. So, Russia hacked all 50 election systems prior to 2016 election. They had their fingers in at Cambridge Analytica. Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway were vice presidents at Cambridge Analytica when Cambridge Analytica stole all that Facebook data. And do you know what they did with that Facebook data? They gave it to the RIS, the Russian Internet Intelligence Service. That's where it went. Paul Manafort, who ran Trump's campaign, ran Yanukovych's campaign and was his advisor, and he was a Putin stooge before the revolution in 2014. So Putin will use these asymmetric styles of warfare because he doesn't have the cash or the might to do it the other way. He has to do the little things, kind of almost like a digital guerrilla style, and that's what he does. So yeah, that's you do what you can. You use disinformation, misinformation. You try to sow divide. You fund alt-right groups that can be provocateurs, and that's how you do it, man. It's use compromat, all sorts of stuff. Okay. Vernon Blackledge. I work in oil and gas, and supply chain issues are a majority affecting getting material to locations in North America. I wouldn't doubt. I bet there's all sorts of issues with tooling and manufactured parts that should be coming from elsewhere in the world that are not made here in the U.S. anymore, and you guys might not be getting it, man. It's yeah. It's we need like almost like a war effort just to get tooling and manufacturing up and running in the U.S. and we need the people to do it. So which means we got to take folks in here. People don't like that, but our population, the number of people being born each year is no longer a replacement population. We do need immigrants. That's simple as that. We got to let people in because we're gonna need them, especially with all the boomers. Boomers are all gonna have Alzheimer's and need to live in health like managed healthcare facilities, nursing homes, and not enough of us take care of them. So it's gonna be crazy. Cockroach Rancher, they already have an alternative to Swift. Yeah, they can, but if the rest of the world doesn't use it, what good is it? They can do interbanking themselves, but if they don't have access to the Swift system, they don't have access to their cash outside of their country. It's gone to them, and they're gonna have to like take out bricks of cash and stick them into ships and try to sneak them through the Bosphorus or something, and that's not gonna work. Okay. Dumb Ducky, sorry to repeat, but could this potentially help MMTLP in oil lands? I mean, yeah, if the higher the price goes for oil, the more that the oil lands are worth. Straight up. Right now, with the way prices are, whoever drills that land can make $50 a barrel profit. 100% profit off of every barrel of oil that comes out of there. That's a pretty darn good return on investment. If 6 months from now oil's at $150, you're doing $100 per barrel, or you just 3x'd your investment. Not too bad. So yeah, it definitely, sadly, would totally help. Oil company stock is going to be screaming for sure. All right. Oh man, it's almost 11 o'clock at night. I'm still going. Bill Coyne, Putin's going to die in the toilet. Putin can die in the toilet Elvis style for all I care. All right. Daphne, it's like saying happy birthday to Houston. Eventually someone's going to be right. And will I tell you if you're right? Dead Broke Investments, Houston, happy birthday. Do you think the DD's buyback can be the potential catalyst for Start MOAS? The DD's buyback. You might have to send that one to me. I don't know if I've read it. I don't have access right now on my phone. I don't have access to my DMs. So if I go to my DMs, I click, it just does the little spinny circle thing, and I don't have a DM. So I have to do it on my computer, which is just a pain in the ass. Much easier to like lay down and go than it is to sit and type one out like I'm doing a research paper. Okay. Project Sun, I wonder what all Burry filed the SEC in on. I would be interested to see what Michael Burry's doing. Michael Burry is definitely a paranoid one. And he's got some weird concepts that I'm like, you're an out in left field, dude. But But it's always interesting to see, like, he deletes his whole Twitter, and he opens back up and tweets 5 things, and he deletes it all. And for 3 months later, open back up, and everyone's like, oh, Michael Burry's Twitter's up. It's very weird. Seems kind of exhausting to go through that way, but he's a paranoid fellow. Av Diggity, would anyone even notice MOAS with the war being the center of attention? Yeah. I'm 100 in on the pool. Yeah, if I knew how to start a pool, I would figure that out. How would we do that? Would it be... I don't know. Somebody who's stronger programming strength than I would have to create that pool. No revolution, U.S. destroyer the Taiwan Strait. I wouldn't doubt if China tries to use this as a pretext to go mess with Taiwan more. I think what they're realizing is what they're seeing is they're seeing the entire globe coalesce around this and just, giving Putin the finger, and the PR war is definitely on Ukraine's side. People do not like Putin. They do not like the fact that he invaded. They are very much against it. And China's like, ooh, maybe we should rethink that whole alliance thing we've got going on here. They abstained from the UN vote, which Russia vetoed, of course. I think Ukraine raised a good point at Security Council, saying, hey, the USSR doesn't exist anymore. What rule and regulation gave Russia USSR's veto power? I don't see it in here. It says if USSR fails to exist, Russia gets the veto vote. Why doesn't any of the other former satellite states get the veto vote? Or why does the veto vote just evaporate into the atmosphere after that? So that laid the groundwork for perhaps removing Russia as a permanent member of the Security Council. Because there is no language specifically that says Russia should be a permanent member of the Security Council. And if they're going to be an aggressor invading neighbors for empire reasons, then perhaps they shouldn't be permanent members of the Security Council. Me? Okay. Plunge protection stream holding it down. Okay. Oh, a bunch of people getting deleted in here. I wonder what they're saying. Coffee. Houston, how are you doing tonight? Well, things are dark, but being on here does brighten my day. So I'm doing better. Monkey Butt is in her cocoon. She's doing good. I would tell you just woke her up by patting her on her head, and she's like, you son of a bitch. I was having a nice nap. Everton, Houston, do you think they'll keep shorting GME until earnings and finally let it run its natural course? They will never let it run its natural course if they have the power. And when GME gives their earnings, they're like, hey, sales are up, we're making money, we're profitable this quarter, they're going to hammer it as hard as they can. What's that, March 22nd is their earnings call? I guarantee you that they'll short the shit out of it the day of its earnings and the day after. That's what they do. As long as they have the margin to do it, they're definitely going to be doing that. Okay. Julian does all that because he's afraid of losing it. Same way Stalin started killing off everyone around him. He was afraid of losing power. Yeah, there's something strange about certain mentality of folks that seek power for power's sake, and how in the norm in some countries is when someone rises to power, they're there until they die. They may not call themselves king. They may say, I'm president, but really they're king of that country. And then other, democratic nations where, you be like, I'm done. I've done my 8 years. I've done my 12 years. I'm out. Someone else's turn. That difference is so striking. I mean, Angela Merkel held on in Germany for a long time, and now she's like, I bid you adieu. Much longer than usual, kind of FDR style. FDR hung on there for a long time until he finally passed away, which was very rare. It was kind of the norm in the U.S. to just do 2 terms and be like, and I'm done, even though there was no term limits before then. But I think it's important to get fresh blood and new blood in there. And to set the precedent that stepping aside and letting someone else in is very healthy. Even if the person, you don't agree with the person who steps in, you think they're going to do everything wrong, being able to set the example of being like, I'm done, it's your turn now, and I hope that you work for the people, is an excellent, just admit you lost an election. I lost the election. I got to step aside now. That, for the health of democracy, that's what you do. You can't win them all, man. And sometimes you lose, and you just got to accept that. And sometimes you lose, and then a few years later you get back in, like Teddy Roosevelt. So, do those non-consecutive terms. Okay. Oh, is Pickle Financial in here? Did I miss that? There he is. Ah, there he is. I said 8x5. How's it going? It's late for you. Aren't you an East Coaster? It's super late for you, but there's no early morning for you. Welcome, Pickle. Okay. Houston, are you getting snow? They were saying we might get snow on Saturday. I haven't looked at the weather. It is showing cold. And it looks like by the time the moisture comes in tomorrow, it's going to be rain. It's going to be in the 40s and rainy. So I'm probably not getting any snow here. They'll get snow in the mountains, but not where I am. It'll just be miserable, cold rain. Okay. Juliana said lead gas, lead-based paint, lead-coated toys, lead soldier in our drinking water. Yeah, lead solder in water pipes, lead in our dishes. Lead. So much lead. There's still tons. There's still, so many water systems were designed 200 years ago that people are still working on. There's still so much lead in all those water systems. Surprising us boomers have two brain cells left to rub together. Yeah. Some of you don't. Bobby Bollinger, power concedes nothing without force. Yeah. Nice Howard Dean impersonation. Bring Pi-Fi onto the stream. Hey, Pickle, you around? You want to come in? Are you still in here? I don't know if you'll be able to see my face. I got to go. Let's see here. I got to. How do I? Got to do the Zoom thing. Which means I got to type Zoom in there. Got to do Zoom. Go like that. Yeah, normally Fridays it's just a really, really hammered Jamie shows up and goes on a tear. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get it going. New meeting. I think my camera won't show up on his end because I'm already using it in this thing and it won't let me do two of them for some reason. So, connected to computer audio. All right, that's working. I make you big. I go to participants. I go invite. I want to copy link. Go like that. And then I want to... Wait, I gotta do it on here. That's the copy to this thing here. Go there. Go to there. Go to Pickle. Gherkin it. There we go. Send a message. And I paste that in there. And if Gherk sees his Twitter DM, he can join this thing. There we go. If he's still in here, if he's still awake. Oh, that was an hour ago. He might not be here anymore. Okay. Someone stop him. Okay, well, if Gherk happens to wake back up and jump in, there we go. All right. All right. Oh, someone being a big dick in there. So they're saying, ban this dude. I don't know who it is. I don't see that stuff. I just miss it. You volunteer mods are wonderful. I never see the crap. You're welcome to leave things in there that might get me to piss off and go on a rant. But, you know, if they're being racist or sexist or awful in general, you can... Or posting porn links. Those guys are really annoying. They're so annoying. Okay. Coffee, Houston, what kind of video games do you play? I'll play a couple of video games a year. Usually like first-person shooters or whatever. Something that can get my... whatever pent-up aggression I have out. But then I also like puzzle games. I also like, I mean, I'll do Microsoft Jigsaw puzzles and just zone out. And then I got turned on to doing GeoGuessr. So most, like 99% of the time when I'm on GeoGuessr, or on Twitch, I'll be playing GeoGuessr. Because it allows me to, like, you know, use my brain, try to do problem solving, and then I can look at the chats and answer people's questions and joke around. Or if I'm, like, trying to murder things on a first-person shooter, I'm not going to be paying attention to all of what's going on in the chat. Or be able to, like, use my brain and have conversations. I'm just like, die. And there we go. Okay. Okay. Geek 735 GME still to play? 100K at least? I think so. Totally makes sense to me, man. I think it's still rip as high as anything. Not that one. This one? Did I accidentally? Oh, there it is. Okay. Thought I accidentally closed my window for Chrome. Paratarian, check out Russian ambassador to Ireland getting roasted by Irish interviewer. They already held up his motorcade earlier. Ireland's pissed. I mean, Russia was going to do a bunch of maneuvers in Irish waters, and the Irish were like, "No, you're not." And so they managed to, tell them what for. Cameron Mirza, will the T+0 help with the squeeze? And AMC has its profits call March 1st. What's your opinion? I think the quarter 4 earnings report is going to be fantastic for AMC. I think it's going to be much, much higher than it was the previous year. They're going to say, oh, it's up, 30%, 40%, 80%, whatever. I bet they'll be in the black, which will be good news. T+0 will help with everyone, because if T+0 is a thing, that gets us one step closer to eliminating failures to deliver, and eliminating failures to deliver is key. If they're forced to close positions the day they make that sale, then woohoo! That will eliminate naked shorting. But if they have T+0 and then allow folks to just do a T13 and then T35 and then they can do equity swaps or whatever, then no, it won't mean shit. T+0 combined with no naked short selling and immediate liquidation if there's failures to delivers, that will help. And with a huge fine if you fail to deliver or sell naked. I think T+0 is a little part of it. It's part of this huge thing we need to happen, but it's one step along the way. If we can combine that with eliminating failures to delivers, with eliminating equity swaps, so on, and just stopping naked short selling altogether, then we're golden. Until then, it's just a piece. It's a little Jenga piece that's going to go on the pile there. All right, I'm still like 50 minutes behind in the chat, so woo. Food report, Japan Times, Japanese-owned cargo ship. Yeah, that one. Someone reported that one earlier. Not good. You don't want to be blowing up commerce that belongs to nations that you're not invading. You don't want to be blowing up Malaysian Airlines jets when you invaded 2014. They're flying over international airspace, over Ukrainian airspace, on their way to like drop off a bunch of aid workers. Blowing up a whole bunch of Dutch aid workers is a bad move, and then trying to hide it and blame it on other people, also a bad move. Okay. Vernon Blackledge, they just call them hedge funds. They aren't in existence because they hedge. The difference between a hedge fund and a mutual fund are the assets and risk they're allowed to take. Pretty much, yeah. Proper hedge funds hedge. Other ones, not so much. Not so much. Okay. Man, a lot of stuff got deleted in here. There's a whole bunch of deletions, and I have no idea. So I'm scrolling through, just like deleted. What kind of dog is Monkey Butt? How old is she? Monkey Butt is a Catahoula leopard dog and Whippet. I'm not sure what proportionality, but definitely Catahoula and definitely Whippet. She can. I don't know now, but a couple years ago, she could run 40 miles an hour. Because Catahoulas were a mixture of the greyhounds that the French Acadians had when they got to Louisiana, and the red wolves that had been domesticated by the Native Americans, and they made the Catahoula out of the two of them. So she is crazy fast. And she's 6.5 years old, as best we can figure. I adopted her in June 2016, and we figured she was about 9-10 months old then. So we just kind of made her arbitrary birthday the month of August. Because that would make her a year, somewhere around there. Yeah. So she's the only time you guys see her is when she's bored out of her mind. You never get to see her when she's like excited and like running around chasing things. You guys just watch her cuddled up going, ugh, I'm just going to nap while Houston talks at this wall in a bright light for a few hours. Fly high. Why did countries not arm him months ago? Intel showed it was happening. You got me, man. They should have been arming Ukraine like crazy. I mean, granted, we did spend a good chunk of time where the United States government refused to arm Ukraine until he would smear a presidential candidate. That was kind of shady. But we should have been getting stuff to them and getting their population ready for this. And I think a lot of folks just weren't believing it. They were believing that Putin was saber rattling and he wasn't going to invade. It was all bluster. But when you get 200,000 troops sleeping in tents in the mud, lined up in the winter, you either got to shit or get off the pot. And that's it. Like, you either got to invade or put your tail between your legs and walk away. And I don't think Putin is the type of guy to put his tail between his legs. He's like, well, I'm going to do it. And so he did what he did in Georgia, and it's exactly the same. Just, I'm going as peacekeepers. I'm going to recognize these republics, these breakaway regions as independent countries, and I'm going to. And that's how you change the map, right? And you go in and you take over. I mean, I saw the protesters in Tbilisi. There was like 1 million protesters in Tbilisi in Georgia against the war. They know exactly what Putin does. They know what he's capable of. You know, folks in Dagestan and Chechnya, they know this play. And you know that working relationship that Moldova has with NATO, not being a full-fledged NATO member, Moldova is probably definitely thinking about joining NATO. They don't have much to offer. They're the poorest country in Europe, but they'll get steamrolled by the Russians, no problem, if they don't have some sort of protection. So yeah, it's rare. SK, what do you think about the new transparency laws? Will they cause a squeeze? Nope, because new transparency laws won't go into effect until 2025. So if they approve them now, it's going to be 3 years until they're required to report their short positions. So it's the transparency rules they're great for 2025, but they don't do shit for us right now. We are yeah. That's where we are. Okay. All right. Chat's gonna reset here, and I'm gonna scroll back up. And where are we? Okay. Oh, that cut off a sunk. Check that always gets me, a little bit ahead here. Okay. Liz Clayman's whistle. The Fair Credit Report Act protects you against fraudulent charges on your credit cards and bank accounts. I ran a credit reporting agency for 20 years. LifeLock is a scam. There you go. Yeah, you should have like essentially insurance that is that stuff. Like I've had my debit card number taken a couple of times by folks, and the cops don't do shit. I had gotten my brand new debit card. Like they sent me the new one in the mail. I authorized it. First thing I did was my coworkers, like little 3-year-old, was having a birthday party. She wanted to have a bowling party, and she wanted kids. She wanted to go bowling with adults, so we went bowling at like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, and I went to a store. I bought a toy, and then I went to the bowling alley. And at the bowling alley, I got a burger, and I'd given my card to the young lady. She went off, swiped it, whatever, brought it back to me, brought my burger, and then the next day, several $1,000s in purchases were made on my debit card, to the point that like my rent check bounced, my insurance payment bounced, my car payment bounced, like everything just started bouncing because all my money was draining from my account. And it took a while. You could call up the bank like, hey, I didn't make any purchases. My number was compromised. I need stuff. I know exactly who stole it. I can take you to her, police officers. And they're like, no. Okay. But after a couple weeks, the money goes back into your account. They refund the overdrafts and all that stuff that happens as a result. It's a pain in the ass. And then I had one that was they were sneaky. I had gone to a friend's wedding in Hawaii. It's like 2014, and I was dating a girl at the time, and I was outside this restaurant. It's kind of a fancy restaurant. It's like, oh, let me check my account, make sure I've got enough money for this restaurant. It's like, you know what? While she's doing that, I'm going to look on my phone, and what the heck is childrensclothing.com? And I put the search queue, and for like 8 months, someone was like withdrawing almost $200 every month from my account for childrensclothing.com. I call my bank. I'm like, hey, I just discovered that someone's been sucking money out of my account every month for the last year. I need to cancel all these things. This is not me. And they're like, you didn't get anything from childrensclothing.com? I'm like, I don't have any kids, and I'm a giant human being. Why would I be buying children's clothes? Right? They're like, okay. So again, like new debit card. This time was a pain in the ass because I was out of the state, and but they'll get it from you. It happened a third time. Somebody got my debit card information, and it's probably because going to a restaurant or something, they just take it and they do whatever. The dude had bought like 100,000 air miles from Alaska Airlines, a bunch of Hilton Rewards points, and a rental car in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm like, oh, somebody's going on vacation with my stuff. So it was when I was restoring a car, and I just got a whole bunch of engine work done, and I just had to, pain in the ass, man. But they will fix it. It'll take a while. Get your money back eventually. Okay. Parataran, the idea of non-tangible currency is just a little too beyond our time. We don't have the mainstream encryption necessary to reliably use that kind of system. That's true. And I'm sure we're working our way towards it, and I wouldn't doubt if there are official, government or bank-backed cryptos that we use. But the fact is, we got tens of thousands of different crypto coins right now. We got a few big ones. We got a bunch of pump and dumps and shit coins and rug pulls, but there's so much crime and fraud and that surrounds the crypto market because it caters to criminals. Again, there are three main things that keep value in crypto. Number one, paying for crime. If you want to pay for crime and you don't want to do it with briefcases full of cash, you send it to a crypto wallet. Number two, laundering money. If you want to launder great deals of money across international borders, you can do it through crypto. Number 3, speculation. The fact that 99% of crypto is owned by less than 10% of all crypto holders means they need people to buy it from you, right? Like, we all know that crypto is tied to fiat currency. Why? Because if you go look at your wallet, the first thing it tells you is how many dollars it's worth. So without fiat currency, crypto has no value, right? If you can't tie it to a tangible value such as euros or dollars, people don't know how to value it. They will use the metric of dollars, of fiat currency, to establish the value to the crypto. If you're just looking at like how many Ethereums of Bitcoin, that doesn't mean anything to people. That's why they throw the dollar value in there. And the fact that there's so many whales that hold so much of crypto out there means the value is tied to a greater fool fallacy, meaning they need somebody else to come along and buy it for more than it's currently worth, so that that person who has a whole bunch of it can sell it. And you know what they're going to do with that? They're going to take dollars for it and put those dollars into a bank account. You got guys like US dollar tether coin that can mint $1 billion out of the air and just start buying stuff with it because it's tied to the US dollar. It's worth $1. So if I just program my computer $1 billion and send it to this wallet can now buy things at a US dollar. They can buy all the Bitcoin they want and then sell that Bitcoin for cash and get out. It's a pretty striking system. What the only big difference that cryptocurrency has really brought to the table is that instead of just the Fed printing money when needed, any random dude can pretty much print money when they want to. they got some programming skills. They can take a basic crypto algorithm off of GitHub and make their own coin. And boom, they've got 1 trillion, bill coins or whatever. And they post it to a Uniswap, and they can start swapping it around and get tangible values out of it. And then you buy an ad on Twitter and you start talking about it on Reddit, and it pumps up from 1/1,000,000th of a cent to 1/10,000th of a cent, and all of a sudden you've got billionaires. And cool. So regulation definitely needs to come into play. It's the future of crypto is going to depend upon how it's regulated and who accepts it. And no one's going to use it as a currency until it stabilizes, because it's a speculative investment right now. It's like buying stock that doesn't pay dividends. It's just speculation. It's no different than a stock. You are buying a crypto. You own part of the Bitcoin. It doesn't pay you a dividend, but that Bitcoin will become, someone's going to pay you $1 million for it a year from now. And that's why you have it. You don't have it because it's going to generate value through dividends or tangible assets or annuities. It's just that somebody somewhere is going to pay you $1 billion for that Bitcoin 10 years from now or whatever. It's a very weird system. That doesn't say that there aren't useful aspects of blockchain. If we blockchain the stock market, fantastic. We have a digital ledger everyone can compare. We can see exactly who has shorted what. That transparency rule would be automatic. We could see what accounts shorted what, who lent this here and moved from there, and so on. It would make naked shorting impossible as well if you lock up that blockchain in the right way. Okay. Going through. I'm going to cut it off here in 7 minutes. I can't believe I had almost 400 of you at this insane hour on a Friday night. You guys are a bunch of nerds, you know that? Nerds. Man, okay. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm skipping through like half an hour worth of chats. I'm scrolling down. I'm going to try and get some of these guys down here at the bottom. I bet I didn't look. Yeah, Girk's in bed. He never saw anything. All right, so there goes that. All right. SK, the transparency laws go into effect on March 3rd. Lou, most Reddit is saying they are already in effect. Well, the law gets approved and goes into effect, but if you look at, what page was it? It was like page 128 or 129. It says that due to, what was the name of, what was it? I had to search for it. It was like due to this, the strains, the obligations behind this law won't be in full effect for 3 years from when it gets signed or approved. There's a piece in there. I think it's like page 128 of the rule proposal that says, yeah, we'll sign it into effect, but we won't hold you to it until 2025, basically. And that's that fine print, deep into that rule. I mean, you really have to read 128 pages into it. Yeah, because people are saying, oh, it'll take 3 years, it'll be 2025. So I just opened it up and like typed in like 3 years. I'm like, oh, there it is. That's what they're talking about. So yeah, it's the transparency rule doesn't have any teeth for a while. It's like saying, like in Washington State, they banned smoking in like 2005. They voted, said no more smoking inside in public places. So restaurants, hotels, whatever, no more smoking. But everyone voted on the rule. But it wasn't going to to take effect this date, and it wasn't going to be enforced for another 6 months or whatever. And so it gave people time to sort of change habits or build the infrastructure they needed or make a little smoker's cabin out in the parking lot or whatever they had to do. But I think making it 3 years before the law has any teeth is a bit much. They know exactly how short they are now. They can report now. Man. Yeah. Okay. There's that thing. Got. Oops. Where was that? What was that? I just missed one. I just scrolled down. BW brand. Oh, yeah, stat. 50% of men in America will be arrested by the time they're 50. Does that make them all criminals? I mean, that's the thing. I wouldn't doubt a lot of it are DUIs, right? Because if you're going to be driving drunk, you're going to get put in handcuffs. And, Americans like to drink. And they like to drink and drive. It's hard to find many adults who haven't been busted for that. Quite frankly. So that could be a large portion of it. And if you are a person of color, definitely have a much higher rate of being arrested simply because of profiling. I talked about my brother-in-law. He's the president of a college. He drives a Lexus. He's a man of color. He gets pulled over. Like, why are you doing this car? He's like, I'm a college president and I can afford a Lexus. I've got a PhD. I've been running colleges for 30 years. That's why I can afford this. Well, we've had some reports that some car thieves have been driving around Lexuses around here. I'm a 50-year-old man who's a president of a college. I'm not stealing cars. Well, you just kind of look like one of the suspects we were told about. It's because I'm black. We all know that story. That happens all the time, and it's disgusting. So yeah, does it make them criminals? I mean, technically, probably, yeah. If they get convicted, they're technically a criminal. But a lot of folks just don't have the means. They have to cop to pleas because they can't afford a lawyer, or the public appointed attorney is garbage or whatever, overworked. Yeah, we just shouldn't live in a society where we're just so much policing, and it doesn't really do shit. That's my biggest beef, is that we've got so many cops and we arrest so many people. It doesn't change anything. Just make lives better for folks, and crime will vanish. Okay. Shorting Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm going to take Bitcoin down. Bitcoin's just a rug pull anyway. All right. Good do you feel? Those are some kind words. Am I a genius? I don't know. I just like to read, man. I like to read and I can retain information. That's my superpower. I've got a weak elbow and I can read and retain information. Okay. Hey, Ali Gladio in Sweden. People waking up in Sweden now. Get the early morning red Saturday. Why don't you sleep in? Revenge of the Nerds in Paradise. Okay. All right. It's 11:30 here. I'm going to cut it off for the evening. Jay King should do more Friday night late shows. Maybe I will. The After Dark shows are usually really fun, even if they started off dark, talking about war and World War III and garbage and bleh. But you know, I do enjoy the Friday night shows. I do like doing late night shows. I will see you guys Monday. Giving you a heads up, my mom finally got scheduled. We're scheduling her for her hip replacement. They're like, oh, it's gonna be April or June. They've got her scheduled for the 7th of March. They're like, okay, the hospital numbers have dropped enough. We feel safe that you can come in here and get your hip done. So she's getting her hip done on the 7th, and I'm probably gonna have to be spending basically a week helping her out after her surgery. And so I don't know how that week between the 7th and 14th, how many episodes or shows I'm going to be able to do during that time. I don't know what my free time is going to be like helping her out. When she got her other hip done in 2013, I remember it was pretty time consuming because, you know, she's got to get up and walk around and do her steps, but she doesn't have the power to get up and down because it's all cut open. And so there's a lot of like picking a lady up off the ground and setting her down gently again. So the 7th and 14th may be questionable as to when I do shows. I'll try to get them done, but I'm so glad she's finally getting that surgery. She's been in so much pain for years now waiting because of COVID. But it's so bad that she has to get it done. But that's good. That's fantastic. I'm very happy that we're finally doing it. And the last time when she got her other hip, it was night and day. She was finally taking strides and walking. It was fantastic. It's wonderful. Okay, Travis Wright 13. Someone said earlier in your show that Attack on Titan was awesome. I skipped the live feed to go second that. It's rad. Okay, all right. I will check it out. I've not seen it. Okay, guys, that's it. Monkey butt, little monkey butt. Oh, I know. You want to say goodbye to everyone? She's like, quit bothering me. It's 11 o'clock at night. All right, everybody. I'll see you guys on Monday. And hopefully my Twitter DMs will be working on my phone by then. But until then, peace.